All right, good afternoon. Welcome to Breaking Chad and Taryn Tommy. I'm trying to change my name on YouTube because SKMDC doesn't make a lot of sense to people, and I set that up over a decade ago, and I didn't think anybody would watch. And still nobody's watching, but that's okay. Maybe someday they will.
Yeah, SKMDC doesn't make any sense to me. I don't
It
even know
stands
what
for
it means.
Super Karate Monkey Death Car. It was a line from one of my favorite TV shows, News Radio. Still
That
doesn't
makes
make any sense.
that makes
So
a little bit more sense, but not so
all
much.
right. Today we're going to go over our long-term picks at catcher, who we're looking at buying. If anybody, I mean, honestly, catcher is kind of a wasteland. If you look at historically, again, our methodology is to look at guys that are on a Hall of Fame track.
I mean, there's pretty good ones, and
Oh yeah,
there's ones that
there's not as many as there are at other positions. So you've got 16 players in the Hall of Fame at the catcher position. Their average WAR is a little bit lower. This is actually the position that has the lowest average WAR, wins above replacement to get into the Hall of Fame. So Fangraphs has it at about 50, and Prospectus, Baseball Reference has it at 53. And there's discrepancy between the two sites. So doing the catchers was a little bit tricky to kind of come up with the five. So, but you can see at the top, you've got, the Johnny Bench, Gary Carter, Pudge, another Pudge, Piazza, Berra, local hero Joe Mauer,
who should
right
have
in
been a
there.
Hall of Famer.
Well, he's not eligible yet, but spoiler alert, he makes the list of people we want to look at. So, ooh, I know, right? So, anyways, the bar's a little bit lower here. The criteria is a little bit different as well because you're looking for guys who like define the defense position. If you got offense, it was a bonus, and that may be changing a little bit as you have some more offensive minded catchers here. But anyways, we've got a top five that we're looking at, and you can switch these around almost any way you want. So let's get started and dig into it.
Yep.
All right, so number five overall, and again, our methodology on this one is going to be a little bit goofy, but yeah, we're just having some fun here. So Salvador Perez.
He is probably the one of the best on the Royals.
Well, he's been there
Cause
for a long time, since 2011, and you can see that his wins above replacement. Offensively, not much going on. Defensively, he's kind of slipping as well, but I mean, he was just a monster. And if you compare Salvador Perez's stats over the first 7 years of his career, just to line it up with what like a Yadier Molina was doing, they're really comparable guys. And so Salvador Perez is still only 30. Fangraphs, has him at about 11.9
I would
more.
say he's the second on the Royals because I have to go with Jorge Slayer first.
Right. Is he a free agent though?
I don't know.
Yeah, right. But Baseball Prospectus has him at 24 and a half WAR, which is a really big difference. So if that's the case, then, he's well on his way being just 30 years old. He does have 6 All-Star games and 5 Gold Gloves and 3 Silver Sluggers. So I don't know. His price reflects someone where it's like, he's a little bit he's established on some sort of track, but as far as Hall of Fame, maybe he's Hall of Very Good type player or whatever. But I mean, he's been a terrific player for a while. As you can see, he is slipping off. He had a good year this year, but he has been slipping the past few years here. So you can see it in his numbers here. I mean, what a terrific season this year. There's no question about it. He had 162 weighted runs created. So offensively, he was a beast, but defensively, again, starting to see a
And
little bit of a slide here.
and
And at this
not
point, you kind of know what he
and
is. You don't have
that's
to dig into the numbers too much.
and he still gets 32 RBI in that like very short season.
Yeah. So no,
37 games
like
out
I said,
of
offensively,
about like 60.
he had a terrific season this year. Struck out a little bit more, but he started to. His walk rate was down, so something in the numbers. I would look for some regression. Now the 375 BABIP.
And he had
Look for him to come back
300
quite a bit next year. But
330 average
yeah, but the 375 BABIP, I think he comes back quite a bit
and
next year.
633 slugging.
Sluggling.
Slugging. I still
let's
don't I
all right.
still
Let's
don't know
move
how
it
to
along
pronounce
here.
it.
Number 4. All right, JT Realmuto, and this is the best catcher in the game today. So there's some recency bias, I think, in his cards because on his track is similar to Salvador Perez. Actually, a couple of All-Star games, a Gold Glove, a couple of Silver Sluggers. He just happens to be the best player right now, so people are willing to pay more for his card. So right now, his PSA 10 is a 2015 update is going for about $140, which again maybe he should be at that $80 level. I'm not interested at $140. But if it gets, I'm more interested in the raw at this point because again, it's a catcher.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
not
more
a
used
lot
to
of
lower
demand for these guys.
price
So
because I don't like to spend money at over $100.
you're not the one spending money here. Anyways, weighted runs created. He did have a good year. Defense is good. We know that he can hit all that kind of good stuff. How is he going to age? That's really the question for all these guys. And catchers actually hang on for quite a while. So I think if he can age well, again, 29 years old, with about 20 WAR roughly, and so if he can double that over the next 5 or 6 years, if he can keep playing, then sure, he's going to be in the conversation. And that's what you're looking for. You want people to be talking about you to keep your name relevant. But I think his price right now is a little bit elevated, and I would look towards a lower grade or just a raw card at this point. All right. Yep. Good. Okay. Number 3.
Yep.
Yadier Molina. And this is the player that defines the position defensively. Offensively, not the best by any stretch here, but he's got a couple of top 10 MVP votes. He's got 9 All-Star games, 9 Gold Gloves, 1 Silver Slugger, and he really has been a terrific player. This year he was it looks like he was below average offensively.
He's been playing for 16 years.
He's been playing for a long time.
And I think he already has. Maybe he can play for like 2 more.
He can play. Hey, you know what? Probably another couple of years of solid play, and the Cardinals fans are going to be they're going to miss him. They're not going to know what to do without him, I think. So 82 ones were created, and
he's not Sandy Koufax where he only played like 10 years.
Very few people are Sandy Koufax can go out on top like that. So
but he can maybe play 2 more years.
Who knows? Only Yadi knows. So he'll play until they tell him he can't anymore. So we all know his offensive stats, and he's not known for his offense. He's a very defensive catcher who is serviceable in the offensive area. But this is a guy. If you again looking at his numbers, 38 years old with 40 WAR. He's going to be in the WAR department. He's going to be close. But when you look at his defensive, just how dominant he was defensively, this is a player that likely gets in whenever he is done, and he's being priced like it right now. His 24 tops will run you about $350 in a PSA 10, and that's what a Hall of Famer goes for. When you look at like a Mookie Betts, when you look at a Miggy Cabrera,
those are all up like $300 to $400.
Those are $300 to $400 cards, and so he's being priced as a Hall of Famer, and the market seems to think he's in there, and for that reason. This could be a golden age for catchers here if the next of these top 3 guys hit. So Yadier Molina is my number 3, and you can honestly flip him with number 2. I don't think there's a huge distinction here. So he's just done it. He's already done it. And number 2 is Buster Posey. What do you think?
He's pretty good. Yeah.
He's really good. So
11 years, and he's already on the Hall of Fame track.
He's well on a track now. I think he needs to keep it going. But if you look at him, he can keep it going. He can
probably do it for like 7 more years.
Now he sat out this year. Okay, and so 2019 he slipped off a little bit. But look at this peak. 10, basically 6, 7, 7 almost. Wins above replacement. Just a terrific offensive player, and his defense is really good as well. So.
But the last couple of years, only like 4 down to like 2.
For what? Oh, WAR, yeah. I mean, of course you're going to tap. That's why you need to really ramp that WAR up. And this is why I want guys to have a certain amount by age 35 because they really start to kind of come off a little bit at that age. Catchers a little bit sooner here. Buster Posey is 33 years old, so hopefully he can keep it going a little bit. Fangraphs has him at 52 WAR. Baseball Reference only has him at 42 WAR. So can he pull off another 3 or 4 years of like 2 or 3 WAR? That would be hugely helpful. But in the meantime, 6 All-Star games, 1 Gold Glove, 4 Silver Sluggers, 3 top 10 MVP finishes, and an actual MVP. And so this is a player that, again, I think if he can put in another solid 2-3 years or something like that, even if it's at the first base position, and add to those stats, because if you look at one of the bigger problems, I think, is 1,380 hits. That's low even by catcher standards. Joe Mauer was up there. You have a lot of guys at like 2,100. You had Ted Simmons 2,400. And then there was a guy, maybe Yogi Bear or something. Johnny Bench.
Yogi Bear.
Bear Ra, another player at the top there. So catchers don't need to get to that 3,000 hit club. 2,000 is kind of a good number. He's gonna have to do a little bit better than I think. But if he can hang around for a few more years, what Buster Posey can do.
It doesn't. Well, he can get in the next 4 years, if he can get to 2,000,
You're not getting to 2,000 hits. That's 200 hits a year, and for a catcher, that's tough. And he hasn't really he doesn't have those 200 hit seasons, so I doubt that he's going to start doing it now. But if he can get up to 1,700 or 1,800 hits,
that
that's what we're looking
178
for.
was pretty close.
So his 2010 Topps rookie is being priced at about $80 right now because there are some questions about how long is he going to play? Is he going to put up the counting numbers? Because he needs to do that for the next few years. So probably a fair price. Again, the $80 level, which is where I would like to see Realmuto as a player that's well on the track, but there's questions about it, and we've seen this in like Goldschmidt and some of those other players where Joey Votto, where they're kind of on the fence. More established players are going to be, in that $200, $250 range, and if you're just kind of in, you're a $350, $400 guy, unless your name is Mike Trout. So, all right, the number one guy.
Yeah, he's at 1,000.
We're cheating just a little bit. He is no longer a player. But he just retired, so he's not. I think there's an interesting opportunity here. But Joe Mauer, he retired a couple of years ago. He's about 35 years old, but he defined
37.
When he retired, he was 35. Right now, he's 37. Oh. So, but he defined the position as a hitter and as a defender. I mean, he's a terrific defender as well. So he had 6 All-Star games, a Gold Glove, 4 Silver Sluggers, all while being a catcher. 5 Silver Sluggers, 3 Gold Gloves. 4 top 10 MVPs and an actual MVP. And so he was no hitter had won like 3 Silver Sluggers. I don't even know if a catcher had really won the Silver Slugger in like decades before he came along, and then Buster Posey came along right behind him. So this was the offensive catcher. He really brought the offense back into the catcher position. And then he went to first base, but again, all those stats compiled as a catcher because he was a terrific defender as well. And so if you look at his numbers, 52.5 WAR for Fangraphs, Baseball Prospectus has him at 55, which we saw at the original list as well.
But only 14 years.
Well, that's a long time for a catcher. So, and if you look at everybody surrounding him, I mean, that makes him a Hall of Famer for the most part. If you look at his peak, if you look at his WAR,
he should be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, if you look at his hits, I mean, he's right in there with these guys. So I think there's an awesome chance that he makes it.
How much hits does he have?
21, 23.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you sort by hits, then you can kind of see, the top guys there. So yeah, Pudge Rodriguez. So I couldn't think of his name, but Ted Simmons. I was right. Ted Simmons number 2. How many people would get that one?
I've heard of Ted Williams, but I've never heard of Ted Simmons.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Good hitter for a long time. So, so Joe Mauer is our number one, just because I think he's also a lock. Now his PSA 10 Topps card 2002 is going for about $250. So for a Hall of Famer, like a Yadi or whatever, he's out of sight, out of mind a little bit, not a lot of demand. Twins territory loves him, but outside of that, I don't know. But he that card, there's probably a little bit of upside in that card. But if for the PSA 9, we've kind of discussed the relationship, and we'll do a video on it. On cards, when they get to that higher level, you start to see kind of a 3-to-1 price differential, where a PSA 10 will go for, call it $300, and a PSA 9 will go for a third of that price, $100. So if it's $100, it'll go for $33. There's kind of that 3-to-1 ratio. And what we're seeing right now in Joe Mauer is his PSA 9s are going for about $40. And that should be, if that ratio is to hold true, should be about an $80 card. So I'm scoping a PSA 9 Joe Mauer. I want that $40 Joe Mauer.
I mean,
I'll buy that over the PSA because those look pretty nice as well.
$40 are pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want to spend $250 on a card. So
why would I?
Exactly. Why would I?
Why would you?
I wouldn't. So the spreadsheet overall. So again, you kind of have to use your head on these a little bit. I really like guys like Will Smith, Sean Murphy. I think Ryan Jeffers looks pretty interesting for the Twins right now. Joey Bart when he comes up. James Jansen. I like those young guys. But there's not a lot to say. Let's see a little bit more of a track record out of them. And right now they're being priced between $20 and $30. Absolutely pick them up. Especially Sean Murphy, who came on really strong at the end of the season. Will Smith, who had a great year. I would look at those guys very hard because they're cheap. I mean, those are the guys that maybe give you the best chance at being $200 to $300 cards.
But Buster Posey is only at 80.
Well, exactly, because there are some questions about, again, as we went over, about has he done enough to get into the Hall. Once that happens, this card will triple. If they say, Buster, so if he can do a couple more years, And the nice thing is, a couple more years will probably be somewhat muted, but just compiling stats, and we can kind of sneak in and get that card. Hopefully, it's cheap. So maybe we'll look at something like that.
Yep.
All right, so we've got on quite a bit here.
PS9's probably not so much. It's probably like maybe 60-40.
The PSA 9 on a Buster Posey?
Yeah.
Well, it should be about a third, so hopefully it's around $27, you know.
Oh.
So we'll check it out. We're gonna look. We should have a Buster Posey.
We should.
We should.
I have a base card.
But again, all these guys are kind of interchangeable, but it really comes down to the price. It's not like don't collect who you want. It's like make sure you're paying the right price for these guys. And so that's why I look at like a Realmuto and say, you know what? He's got the track record. He should be more than $20 or $30 guy, but he's probably not a $140 guy. Maybe he should be $80 like Posey, because there's, you know, but he's playing right now and he's having, you know, he's the best catcher in the game, so he's going to have a lot more attention. Salvador Perez, kind of the same thing.
$80.
Playing right now. Yeah, that's fair price for a guy that's like could probably do something.
Yeah, but I would not take Realmuto at 140. I would take him.
Me either.
Also,
you're paying
at 80.
attention and learning well. Terrific.
I would take him at 80 also.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Bye.
Bye.